March has crept up on us and it is time to get our winter crops going. So today's video I'm going to show you what I am going to be getting ready for our beds. So when winter arrives we'll be able to actually pop them in the ground. So come along with us, let's get our winter crops sorted out. So before we start, I just want to say excuse the noise in the background. We have started renovations and there is a lot of welding going on and a lot of noise in the background, so you will hear things and I'm just giving you a heads up. Yeah, so I just wanted to go around the homestead quickly and just show you what we've got growing and what we're going to be doing, because there's quite a lot of changes that I want to prep this winter in order to get the garden going and ready for next season. I want to be prepared because I've been delaying these renovations on the homestead for quite a while. It was supposed to happen this year, but things got carried away. I wasn't able to get to it, but I think we will be able to do it this winter, prep everything, because now we've got the steel and we already started renovations, so very exciting. I was going to change a little bit of the layout, but I don't think I have to, so that is good news. You can see I've got two beautiful cabbages on that side that's doing pretty well, and we've got some beautiful different types of kale, and these are my winter crops that are going to stay in there. We're going to be just putting in a whole bunch of more stuff like cabbages, you can do cauliflower and your broccoli. But yeah, that is some of my winter crops going in there. So in that bed, I have no idea what is happening. Something which I think might be snails is just eating every single one of my bok choys. I have a very big problem with snails this season. None of my bok choys were able to actually grow nicely from seed. They have all been demolished. So I'm just going to quickly flip the camera around, go through the beds quickly, and then we can go through all the seeds that we're going to be planting for winter. So this is the bed where I'm supposed to have things like bok choys in it. I wanted this bed full of bok choy, but what's happening is that something is eating the outer leaves. It's very, very annoying. So what I can do is that I can obviously take the outer leaves off, and you can see I've got new growth in the middle, but somehow I'm going to have to see how to prevent this, and I'm not really sure right now. But I've got the odd Kohlrabi growing still. I'm going to take this one out. I'm going to harvest this one. I'm going to leave that one in to grow a bit bigger, and I'm going to see what my family thinks of Kohlrabi. But in this bed I've got a whole bunch of kale. Love kale. We've got some spinach, we've got some more kale at the back there, more Kohlrabi. So this is an awesome bed. Check this little baby Kohlrabi doing so well there. Some lettuce in between, and then I have some wonder peas growing on here. This will be the last time we utilize this arch. There's a lot of changes, and once again, sorry for the noise guys, but it doesn't matter. When I do a video there will be noise, so just need to get it over and done with. And then all the cucumber plants will be probably going out once I harvest it. In this bed I've still got the bush bean. They're still doing okay, not pushing out a lot, but a lot of new growth. Just leave that there. But the zebra molly beans will have to be taken out. I'm not doing it today because they're not ready to be taken off. I think another week. I want it to get to a point where it's like this, where it's really dry. So what's going to happen is when I harvest them, I'll let that cure inside for 2 weeks. Take it out of the shell and let it cure as beans on my stove, just on the open for another week. That way I make sure that all my beans are dry in the middle, because once I bottle it, you don't want mold to start growing. And then just a perfect example, you see all of this just a whole bunch of snails. They are awful this year. It's been a nightmare. But yeah, this bush will go out. It served its purpose. It did very, very well. And I can't wait to grow more molly beans. But this arch will be taken out. We'll come back and I'll explain what we'll be doing. And we've got a random tomato. Tomato plants can be taken out. Then the cucumbers, I'm not really sure. I think I'm going to harvest majority of them. I'm going to have to just bag some so that the wasps don't sting it anymore. So it's another thing that I've had a problem with is wasps. They've been stinging everything, and like my butternut, my cucumbers, even my fruits, and everything is just dying off faster than normal. But I want to take this tomato tree out. It is over. It is not really producing. And any other things that I can take out that I know it's over. There's a tomato plant in there. I'm just going to harvest them. And once I can see that the plant is actually dying off, then I'll take the plants out. And this kohlrabi I'm taking out as well. It's been in the ground too long. A swing over here, I'm going to be taking the marrow plant out. And then this bed will probably be a whole bunch of lettuce and things like spinach in that maybe. But you can see I've got 3 beautiful brinjal plants. That's the only brinjal that's growing. I'm waiting for the other brinjals to pop out. I'm not sure what is going on this year. This bed is empty. I've got 1 spinach and some lettuce. So we'll see what we're going to be doing. But I don't like empty beds. Just got a whole bunch of tomatoes. Once these guys are out, I can just pull them all out. Not had a good season with tomatoes. And then over here, I got 3 bays. They weren't utilized properly this year. I've got big plans. So my plan is to keep this herb box, give it a good neat up, give it a good clean out, but keep majority of my plants here because it does have my grapevine. Grapevine will be treated nicely and pruned in late winter. I only want 1 raised bed with herbs on this side. This is going to be cleaned out. That is going to be cleaned out. And I'm going to be receiving some beautiful metal beds soon. And that is, one is going to go by the kitchen door where I'm going to have some herbs in it. I'm not sure about the other one. Well, I just have to see what I get. But in the meantime, what are you going to do with 2 empty beds, Sam? Well, I'm going to fill it up with beautiful acid soil. And I'm going to put the berries in here. Where the berries are right now, it's not really performing, and I want to try something different. So I thought, put the raspberries in here and the blueberries in there and see how it performs. Because right now they're not doing very well where they are, and I know why. Because of the sun, there's too much shade, and that's what I teach about is plant your stuff in the right location. Do not do a setup and not know what is going to happen later like I have. So I'm trying to prevent that. Okay, so that is what's happening in the garden. Okay, so before we get going with our seeds, I want to show you what we've got growing here already. You can see we've got some beautiful Chinese cabbage. That is, I guess we could take this out and plant. The only worry is that I've got snails and that busy eating a lot of my stuff, so I just need to make sure that this doesn't get eaten. And the minute your seedlings have true leaves, which is like this, got all my true leaves now, it can be taken out and planted into the raised beds. But I'm a little bit worried doing that only because of all the snails and hohos that are busy eating all my stuff. So I'm not sure. I think I'm going to be leaving this for another week and then maybe prepping it. I'm going to now start some winter crops. So I'm going to take you guys with me and we're going to do it together. The winter crops I'm starting now doesn't mean that you guys need to also do the same. Grow things that you guys are going to harvest and eat from. because my mistake was right in the beginning doing all these seeds, buying them, planting them, watching them grow. It was really exciting. But when it came to harvesting them, there were some crops that I didn't like and my family didn't like to eat. So it was a waste. We had to give it all away. So after 5 years of growing things, we know what we want in our homestead. And even though we try new things just to see if we like it, that is perfect. You can always experiment. That is the perfect thing about homesteading. But if you kind of like know that you don't eat it, don't grow it. So let's go through the very first one, and the first one is beets. Beetroot is always something that I like growing at the homestead. It's not something that I'm successful in because I do neglect it sometimes, but beetroot is something I want to try out because there's something I want to make with beets. And it's something that my sister-in-law brought back home about 2 months ago. She brought some normal beetroot, pickled beets, and that I love. But there was another jar, and when I tried that out, because you are used to that normal pickled beetroot that you buy at the shops, I wasn't prepared for what I was going to taste, and it was sweet. It was a sweet beetroot, and everybody at home loved it. And I wasn't sure because I was eating the pickled ones. The sugar beetroot was actually very nice, very sweet. I don't really drink sugar in my tea and my coffee. In my tea, I drink a little bit of honey, but in coffee, I have it black and no sugar. But this is something I think my family would definitely like, but something I think I can maybe adjust the sugar level a little bit lower. But that is what I'm going to be tried. Sweet pickled beetroot, as well as your normal pickled beetroot. So that is definitely in. Then the next one is carrots. So once again, sorry about all the noise and talking in the background. We have some renovations and construction going on here, so you will hear that noise. Carrots is definitely a winner here. We do have rabbits that we love to give carrots to, and I need a whole bed full of carrots. That's my plan this season. So this I'm not going to be putting in seedling trays. It's something I am going to be growing, but once I've prepped a whole bed, I'm going to be direct sowing it in my beds, and I'm going to be putting a wooden plank on top of it, and then checking it to see when it starts to germinate, then take the planks off. So that is part of my winter crop. And not only do we grow carrots for us to consume at the home, but the rabbits love it. And then what we do is that when we do buy bought store carrots, I slice it, I put it in the dehydrator, and I make it crispy, like really like a chip. And it's really nice to eat, but the rabbits and our parrot Willow absolutely loves it. And it's the only way that Willow actually gets his veggies in is by me doing it that way. So carrots. Next one, spinach. Okay, you can't go wrong with spinach. I love my garden full of spinach. I love eating spinach. I love cooking with spinach. My animals love it. So if there's ever too much, you just, like yesterday, I didn't actually record it, but yesterday I had to trim some of the bottom leaves off of the kale, the spinach, and even the kohlrabis and that, and I gave it all to the rabbits, and I was able to feed all of them, so they didn't really need to get supper, except they had a whole bunch of greens and a little bit of apple. Once a week they get apple every Friday. So spinach, you get different types of spinach, so I just put a whole bunch of spinach. I have tried right in the beginning of my journey to do different types of spinach, and I realized what spinach I didn't like. So I've stopped growing them, but there's spinach that I do like and I do utilize, and these are the ones that are going into our raised beds. So spinach. Another thing is that if you don't have animals to give your leftover spinach to, dehydrate it and make spinach powder. It's really, really good and healthy. You can put it over your foods in sauces. Um, and what I make is like you can call it a macho coffee kind of thing, where you put all your greens in, you foam it up, and you drink it that way. It's very earthy, but if you like something like that, that is something you can give a go. Okay, lettuce. Lettuce, I like using it in food, obviously. We have animals that like it, but lettuce is really good for a natural mulch cover. So I plant it all over, as well as putting some mulch down. This year, I didn't put any mulch down. This year, I was really bad. I've not gotten around in doing quite a lot of things, but as I said, there's stuff being done at the homestead. There's a lot happening, and so this is the year to actually make things happen. And I'll be putting mulch down, especially for winter. So lettuce. Okay, next one is yeah, my favorite. Okay, so I don't really like growing these things because I fail at it, but I always try and see how I can make it better. So that is, you guys know my story with the cabbage. Cabbage always gets attacked at a certain size. And right now, I've done everything to try and protect it. Right now, it's looking good, touch wood. And I'm going to be adding more cabbage because I got cabbage seeds somewhere. Where's my cabbage seeds? Oh, there were cabbage seeds in here. Broccoli and cauliflower. That's all going to go in a bed, and I'm going to try it again. So let's see if that works out, hopefully. Then I'm going to be doing things like leek. Leek is really good for winter, especially for soups. I love leek. I grew leek for the very first time last winter. It did very well. It didn't grow as big as I have seen in videos, but I got maybe 2 or 3 really big ones. The others were small, but I was able to make some leek potato soup. My family loved it. Not something they would eat all the time because it is very potent, like really rich. But we did freeze some, and it's really nice to eat like once a month or maybe once a week in winter. But leek is definitely going into my garden because I grew it last year. I want to grow it again, and it's just something that you can freeze and keep it for later. Okay, kohlrabi. Last year I wasn't successful. This year I'm half successful. I've got some really nice kohlrabi. Some were attacked, some split. So kohlrabi you can grow, and that will actually go into my cabbage and cauliflower and broccoli box because it's part of the same family, and maybe I'll grow that in between. So that is super exciting. So normally in winter I don't do anything. It's my still month, but this winter I'm going to utilize some of my raised beds, and some I'm going to keep empty and use it as compost bins. But we'll see. Things always change. Another thing I'm growing is the blue shelling pea. So that can go somewhere. I'm not really sure now where because we're going to be taking the arches off. So I just have to think about it carefully. So if I actually make like a teepee, I think it's called a teepee, where I can just stick it in a bed and put the peas around it and it can grow that way. That's the only way I can think of doing it because of all the arches going off. Another crop I'm growing is celery. Celery, I love celery. I can actually just take it off the plant and eat it just like that. My animals love celery. The rabbits absolutely love celery leaves. And I love to juice celery with apple and make a nice juicer that way. That's where you can actually add in like a spoon of dried spinach powder to it. It's very earthy, but you get that sweetness in from the apples. So this is really great. So my celery that is growing, I've got 1, 2, 3 plants of celery. All of them were grown from a bought store celery. I just cut the bottoms off and I put them in the garden and they just grew. And they're doing fantastic. I've got 3 left of the 4 that I bought. But I went and bought something called the tall Utah, and I want to actually start that from seed and give that a bash. So that is something that's on my list as well. And these are all my winter crops that I am getting going. There's other beans that you can grow, so I want to look what beans is the best for winter and utilize that, and maybe if it's climbing bean, make some more poles and that for that to grow on. But at the moment, these are my top winter crops that I'm personally growing, and I've explained why I'm growing them. So give it a bash on your side and comment below and tell me, what are you guys growing this winter? Is selecting flowers that can be planted and likes winter, and these are going to be very important because you still need pollinators to come in. Some of these, like your kale and that, don't really need pollinators, they just grow. But your beans and that will probably need some pollinators, but flowers are very important. So I'll be thinking of the best flowers to grow in winter as well. But Sam, what is your plans? Well, the plan is to take that plant out. This is our sour variety, and unfortunately this plant needs a partner. That is the Andalib pomegranate plant. It's self-pollinating, so it doesn't need a partner. That's why it does very well. But we've learned that this one does need a partner. And we're going to take it out, put it in the front, buy a partner for it, and that will sort that plant out. Swing around, our lemon tree is not performing. So I've told you that we've got a problem with our soil and our grounds when it rains, and it was a really wet summer. Plant was doing well, then it went backwards. So we're going to take it out, and we're going to also plant that in the front. That will just free up that space. But our future plans is, if I come over here, so if I start over here, you'll see that I put this trellis over here, and what's happening is that it makes it really hard for me to actually go to the back. See, my tomatoes are there, I can't really get there. This plant is in my way, and it's just an obstacle course right now. So we're going to be taking all the arches out, and that arch is going to be extended to the back, coming right over and connecting to, I think, the back piece there. And that will be perfect, because now I'll be able to plant my beans or whatever I'm going to put on this trellis, and that will trellis up and over, but I'll be able to get to all the crops that is planted in this bed. It makes more sense. And the trellis that we are going to be using is steel rods. We've already got them there. You can see we've got all the rods. That's what all the noise is. It's us prepping the quail cages that we are building at the back here, and all the arches for our homestead. And it'll be square and not round, but it'll be more sturdy and not flimsy like what is happening here. And that will just help us in the long run to never ever have to try and replace our arches again. So it's quite a nice setup that we're going to be doing, and I'm very excited about that. So these arches, these round arches with the roses, they're going to be taken down, and we're going to be putting the square steel brackets or framework on, but we're going to go a little bit higher. And the same as that arch, a little bit higher. And you can see what's happening here. It's not strong enough. It is very weak, and the wood is taking a hammer. So that is going to be more sturdy with the steel rods. Then we're going to try and see how we can connect another steel frame going across to that side, and maybe the cucumbers can trade in the future there. But there's a few arches that we're going to be doing here, and a lot of prepping that needs to be done. And it's exciting because what we try and do here is just try and improve the homestead so it works for us and not against us. And right now, we're battling a few obstacles that is working against us. Here is what I want you to do in the first week. Day 1 and day 2, you're going to observe the light in your garden. Make sure that there is an area that gets at least 6 hours of sunlight, because that is what most plants and crops require. But if you can't find an area in your garden that gives you that, if it gives you 3 to 4 hours of sun, that is okay for certain crops, but we're looking between 4 to 6 hours or more of sunlight. So observe your garden and the area, and that is the place you're going to start your homestead. Day 3 is going out there and getting 2 to 3 pots or containers where you're going to start sowing your seeds. Day 4 is buying good quality soil mix to add to these pots. So day 5 is going and grabbing 2 to 3 crops that you are wanting to start planting in your containers. Day 6 is basically planting these seeds, and day 7 is watering and observing them. If you are following this 90-day roadmap with me, by the end you won't just have plants, you'll have confidence. So comment below and tell me, what space are you working with? And don't forget, subscribe so you don't miss out on lesson 2. Until then, let's learn together as we grow together. And next week, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into knowing your soil. So that is our winter crops that we at the homestead are starting to get prepped, so that when winter comes, we are able to actually transplant them in the raised beds. We'll be one step ahead. So don't wait until number 99 to get your winter seeds started. And if you've gotten this far, please do me a favor and hit that like button. It actually means a lot to my channel. And subscribe so you don't miss out on any more of our content. I'll see you in this next video.